Hi there, I am Adam Kirbas and this is my novel Night Out. I've got the phone records of Ally Fauner and she called someone right before her death. We know that. But the phone number is not registered, which means that it is a prepaid phone. Someone wants to hide his identity. Well, this is suspicious. Suspicious because, again, it fits to our greater narrative that the person Ally was in love with wanted to keep himself in the background. What could this actually mean? Who uses a prepaid phone? It could be that this person is a criminal. Someone of these criminals, they keep a low profile, especially if they have been convicted of something. Ally was very attractive, even as a young woman, which could mean that maybe a teacher could have taken advantage of her. Well, this is not very uncommon. This is actually very common. And that this teacher, either in high school or in college, wanted to keep his identity secret. And therefore probably has a second phone using a prepaid SIM card. This is all mysterious indeed. So we don't have a lead on the phone number. But it could be, and it is very mysterious. But we searched further after the phone number, after Ally's phone number in the police precinct. We have an IT geek, Trevor Bates, who traced the phone number, and we got a hit. The phone number, Ally's phone number, was used to create a Facebook page with Ally's name, but with photos of Lydia John, the person or one of the persons Ally lived with. This fits as well as our narrative that when I went into Ally's home, it looked like her clothes have been worn by her two roommates, maybe not with her consent. And now we see that Lydia John uses Ally's name in order to create her own Facebook profile. And I scroll down the photos. There is even a photo where Lydia John poses in front of Ally's college, the college Ally went to. Well, this does not appear to be a normal takeover, because normally this happens quite a lot, especially with identity fraud, that people take over or try to take over the identities of others. But they do it in a very subtle way. They do not necessarily create Facebook profiles. And especially it would be very hard to take over someone's identity who went to college. This means the more people Ally met, the more witnesses she has witnesses who can testify who is Ally Fauner. So if you start taking over the identity of someone who went into college, who is known and must have known, even though in college it appears to be that a lot of people are unknown or no one seems to take notice of you. Nevertheless, there are students, records and so on. Yet it happens as well. So some groups are very successful in taking over identities of others, even though they went to college. But you need a lot of people and a lot of hackers or time and moments to hack in all those data bases in order to change photos so that it might be easier to take over identities. However, but here in this case, it is rather apparent that someone did it for herself. Lydia James, she wanted to be Ally, and she apparently swept aside all precautions. Trevor, our IT geek, could successfully trace back the IP address. And the IP address leads to a home where is Tom Weil registered. Tom Weil is the boyfriend of Lydia John. Now we have a very strong lead. I get a warrant. I want to know what are the living circumstances of John Weil. What is he doing? And he probably has something to do with the creation of the Facebook profile. Well, it is not very smart though, using someone's phone number to create a Facebook page. He probably either hacked Ally's phone via phone company. This has been done quite often. So if you sign up for Facebook with your phone number, and especially with your phone number alone, this is not secure anymore. Nowadays it is very easy to just call the phone company and obtain someone's phone number or get a new phone number under the name of the person, and then the vicious circle starts where it gets very hard to get back your identity. Especially hackers steal a lot of identities and sell them to whom, one might ask, who wants to buy identities? Criminals or a lot of sex offenders who are not allowed to be near children. They buy identities in order to be near children. However, we come knocking at Tom Weil's home. It is a neat home. His parents are working class, and they have made themselves a nice, cozy home. Tom Weil opens the door. Barry, my close friend, holds out the warrant and reads it to Tom Weil. Tom Weil just laughs smugly. He smiles in a very condescending and arrogant way. There are no drugs in here, says Tom Weil very self-sufficiently, as if he knew that this might happen, that one day the police may come knocking. I see in Tom's scrawny appearance his pallor and his black teeth, that he's probably diabetic, that he has probably type 1 diabetes like Lydia. And we walk past him. He lives in the basement. Tom Weil lives in his parents' basement, even though he's already grown up, and the records show that Tom Weil is unemployed. He has never worked something in his life. I look around in the room, and on the walls there are wallpapers of half-naked women. The room itself is scarcely furnished, and it has no window. It is indeed the basement. I immediately am well aware that there is a malodorous stench in the room. I look at the fretted mattress and the bed sheets. I can immediately smell sperm residues, which means that Tom Weil masturbates a lot. He has a girlfriend, at least I assume that they are close, and yet he masturbates a lot. Lydia is not very attractive, and if you compare Lydia's physical appearance to those women of whom Tom Weil has wallpapers pinned on his room's walls, then Lydia appears to be not attractive, even ugly. So why is he around her? I assume that because of the walls and because Tom Weil, firstly, masturbates in his bed and his bed sheets, that his mother or his parents hardly enter his room, that he has, for whatever reason, some sort of privilege of privacy, maybe because he is already an adult, or for any reason. So I assume that he watches a lot of porn. One of our IT geeks opens his laptop, it is not even secured or whatever, and he sees through the browser history that he is a common visitor of these famous porn sites, which are free to access for everyone. So, why doesn't he have sexual intercourse with Lydia? Or he has, and it is not enough. So I decided that it is very important to interrogate him. In the police precinct, in the interrogation room, I look at Tom Weil for a while. I stare at him. This is very normal, especially if you stare down people. You wanna make them uncomfortable. This is not something you like if someone just stares at you blankly. Does he hate me? You sometimes stare at something which is just disgusting or disruptive. You stare at it in disgust. But I try to keep a very nonchalant facial expression. I look at him. I try to put things together. What relationship is he with? In what relationship is he with Lydia? Is this a fitting relationship that might have led to murder or even cold-blooded murder? Given the half-naked woman in Tom Wilde's home, it is more than likely that he was or had some erotic feelings about Ally. Ally was very attractive. Tom Wilde is not. He's scrawny, he's short, his hair is receding, he's getting bald, he has black teeth, and he seems to be self-centered. These are not attitudes and attributes women want in a man, and apparently Ally had a lover, or maybe she was even lesbian. Did Tom Wilde know? Does he know? But Tom Wilde smiles smugly, as if we would not have anything against him. And we have seen through his laptop. He's as well as we have seen his Facebook profile. You immediately get the notion that he wants to be perceived as a minority. Well, this is very common among people who have been lost or fallen back in society, who have not accomplished anything, that they assume that they would be special, that they would be the smart minority, which comes from a philosophical term. Especially Friedrich Nietzsche talked a lot about that smart people are held back by moral resentment, and this later transformed in a notion that the society, especially through Marxism, that society would be run by mostly morons, and these morons would do anything to keep the smart ones down. And if you do not fit into society, which fitting in a society means that you are successful and that you accomplish something, and if you do not or would not fit into a society, then it is mostly the cause and the fault of the society and not yours. So these are thoughts by people who try to boost their self-esteem when they fail in a society, or fail as a man, or as someone who has to work or have to make progress in a society. And Tom Wilde seems to be one of these people. But why is he so condescending? Why is he so arrogant? Well, this is caused by the notion, and especially with Marxism, and we have found a lot of Marxist texts and attitudes on his laptop, as well as a lot of Marxist references on his Facebook profile. And through Marxism, through this revolution, through this proletarian revolution, one day there would come a change, and in this change, the smart people, the genuine ones, there were those who have been put down all these years or had to live as outcasts. They will then take over and they will show it all. This is a general theme a theme of adolescents who one day assume that one day they will become heroes, that they will be successful like Spider-Man or whatever you have, and then they will get the girl and they will show the world how special they are, despite the fact that society, or will show society, and all these years they would come bring vengeance with them, or deep satisfaction that society who thought of them lowly or not worthy to give them any attention will then be hit in front of their heads, and they will have to face and acknowledge how special one is. So these are some adolescent fantasies, especially when adolescents somehow do not succeed in getting enough attention. It is all about attention, especially attention in puberty. This is mostly sexual, and it always revolves around a girl. Hollywood is full of these themes. The boy who is in love with a girl, but she has another boyfriend, and this boyfriend is somehow football player, strong, very, very popular, and the boy doesn't know how to compete with this omnipotent boy. Well, this is a common theme in the Oedipus complex in psychoanalysis. However, and Tom Weil seems to be one of these men who wait for dawn, for a new dawn for humanity, and then he will show it them all. He will do what he thinks, what he assumes. Probably this is the thoughts and thinking and the waiting of a dictator in the making. Who knows? But right now we investigate into a murder, in a cold-blooded murder. Tom Weil says, like I said, there are no drugs in my home. He is very self-assured, and from his statement I assume that he probably had issues with drugs. Well, if he has diabetes, this is very common, because if you have diabetes, it is you feel hardly pleasure, or you cannot perceive in the same way all pleasure like many of us do, especially with unhealthy food. And this makes many people depressive. A lot of drug addicts are actually diabetic, as well as a lot of psychopaths and serial killers. Diabetes is not only a physical issue, it is as well as a mental disease, and it has not been mentioned in the public as such. And many celebrities have diabetes, many politicians have diabetes. So it appears to be that Tom Weil could be a drug addict, or have been a drug addict who had to fight his way to become clean, or who has figured out a smart way to hide his stash, whatever. But I wanna take away his confidence. I wanna turn around the interrogation. He is too secure of himself. I tell him, well, this is not about drugs. We did not come in to your home with a warrant that you might or might not have drugs. I'm not from the DA. We are from homicide, and we investigate get into the murder of Ally Fauna. I see that his facial composure changes, and I repeat, cold-blooded murder. And Tom Wiley gets somber. In this state, there is the death penalty. Ally Fauna went to college. I look at him attentively. She was probably very popular. A very young, attractive girl shot in the middle of the night. I want to get him talking because he looks he is, according to his room and his computer, he is very envious or craves after attractive women, and when he in reality don't get them, cannot be around attractive women, cannot copulate with them, this mostly leads to tension, to hate, sexism, frustration, that the world we live in would be all about superficial values, would all be about appearances. This is what I read some of his stuff he writes on social media, on Facebook, that he craves for inner values. Well, this does not fit with this half-naked woman pinned on his wall. However, Tom Wiley is one of these men who probably craves attractive women but is very uncomfortable in there when he is near them, and this leads to frustration. And these men mostly consider attractive women as whores, as women who shop around, have a lot of friends, male friends, and you could not trust them. And I want to know whether Tom Wiley has some severe opinion or is disgruntled with him. But he does not respond. He is thoughtful. He doesn't know what to say, but he is uncomfortable. So why would someone kill a nice girl like Ally Fauna? I ask him. I want him to say something about the writer. He says, I don't know. His response is, I don't know. Well, this is something I did not expect, because I assumed that Ally, from so far I got to know her, was probably very condescending and arrogant, who needed an audience to feel good about herself, even though the image of Ally is conflicting. And I assumed because Tom Wiley is ugly, is not good looking, he is not the type of man attractive woman would go for, or the overall majority of women would go for. So that she might have dubbed him, and he felt frustrated. But he holds back. He doesn't say any derogatory things about Ally, which might be or could be an indication that Ally probably treated him amicably, that she was nice to him, and that he probably admired her, or had hopes that Ally would want to be with him, hopes that this attractive woman would see beyond his appearance, might wish. And even though Tom Weil, even though he talks a lot of superficial values, he himself is superficial. You cannot fathom any deep human sentiment in him. It is all about superficial, like him. Maybe he thought of himself that he has something to offer for Ally, and that he thought that he would be able to compete with Ally's lover, whoever this lover was, man or woman. Maybe he thought. And then, as he did not succeed, as he could not stop Ally seeing him, he could have went nuts and shot her. These things happen a lot. People even kill in order to save someone they love. They assume that they would save them in killing them. Why? Because they want to keep them pure. They think that if a woman they love and they assume that she's serene, she's pure, that this other person, mainly the person with whom they have the wife for this girl, that this person debauches her, that this other person leads to a degeneration of this beautiful thing. And the only thing then to save this girl is to kill her, to keep her purity, but to keep one's own image of her, to preserve this serene and pure notion of this girl. These people then kill out of love in order to maintain love, because they have given up on the possibility that they can be together with this girl. They have not the motivation anymore, because they're either ugly or they do not perceive themselves as attractive, and so on, so that they think that they are insufficient to actually consume any love relationship with a very attractive woman, but yet they still want to preserve this ideal of this woman, and possibly one day they will be able to accomplish that they can be together with this attractive woman. One day they will probably be sufficient enough to be this lover for a girl, and all what they want to do is hold time, that they want to preserve time, to preserve the moment, so that this other person in that sense has to wait for them, wait until they are, or they have come to age, or to be apt and able to be the person and have become the person this ideal woman will eventually love one day. This is the reason they kill them and they get rid of them, because they then can preserve the ideal and the notion of this perfect girl. It could be that Tom Weil lost his mind, that he could not keep it together anymore, and Ally was very attractive. I asked him about Lydia John, I ask him in which relationship they stand with each other. He was in a daydream. I see that he thought about Ally, and he thinks about her in bitterness. She's gone. He cannot be with her anymore. He probably knew her a little bit. He stole her phone number, and with her phone number he had access to a lot of social media accounts of Ally. He read a lot of personal messages of Ally. He probably knew her enough so that he could imagine to be with her. He could imagine to possess her. He could maybe as well as imagine that Ally would become one of these pin-up half-naked girls hanged as wallpapers in his basement room, and he could probably imagine to possess her. Talking of Lydia, John has ripped him out of his daydream, as if we would talk about something else. Yeah, he responds, Lydia is my girlfriend, and he is not enchanted at all. He's not proud at all, because now you can perceive that his mind compares Lydia with Ally who is very attractive, and Lydia who is obese, and most importantly, Lydia who has diabetes, because this is what many diabetes think about, or that they want to perceive themselves as beautiful, not only beautiful, but as well as healthy. So that Tom Weil probably has daydreams about himself being healthy so that he could be with Ally, be this man, be her dream comes true. Diabetes plays a crucial part in these thoughts, because you still feel yourself inferior to all others. Others seem to be able to enjoy their lives. With enjoying it means to get oral satisfaction, but one is some sort of always an outcast in school, in your private life, whatever you have. And diabetes is as well as associated with pain as well, because every time you eat sweet and candy, you have to shoot up insulin. So this is sweetness comes with pain. It is not pure sweetness, and it leads occasionally to some dreams and notion that there would be sweetness, that there would be sweet craving beyond the borders of pain, without having to shoot up, or that you have to rush your food, so that you cannot enjoy sweet or candies, but that you have to gulp them down and immediately thereafter shoot up your insulin, or else you could harm yourself. So you just cannot wait too long until you ingest insulin to your body. So this makes not only leads this, that around sweet and candies one's mind creates some sort of a fetish, something you crave, something you hope for, that you could eat without any repercussions, where you could enjoy just like everyone else, to be normal. This is what these people mostly crave, just like anyone else, and they all their lives have to make up for it. And as well as in love, and how you and whom you desire. If you are have diabetes, you perceive the disease as something harmful and something which holds you down, and then of course you crave for and yearn for people with whom you could be together beyond the disease, who are not sick, who do not have to suffer from this illness, and who seems therefore even elevated to higher being, as well as to more purity, to more serene, because diabetes comes with a malodorous body odor which you smell on yourselves, on your feet. People who have diabetes do not only have black toenails, but they have as well as malodorous, stinking feet, especially if they do not shoot up insulin. This thing is harmful. This thing is devastating for many, and it keeps swirling in someone's mind over and over. Every day there is a lot of food advertisement on the streets, on the social media. Wherever you go, you cannot avoid advertisings which promote a new cookie, a new taste, new candy, a new recipe that was invented, and you have to try it, and you wanna try it, you wanna enjoy this oral pleasure, but it is all not always possible, and sometimes even expensive. A new taste, a new flavor you wanna enjoy with, you have to always think about insulin. You have to shoot up with as well. So this thing even comes financially very difficult enough that you do stupid things, could lose your mind if you have to think about it over and over again, like an anorexic woman or man who think about food all the time and who don't seem to be able to get their mind off food. The same happens to diabetics, people who suffer from diabetes, who think a lot about candies and how they would taste and how they could enjoy them without insulin, enjoy them without having to gulp them down, and so that they cannot savor it and enjoy it. I'm thoughtful. When did you meet Lydia? I ask Tom. He looks at me plainly. I immediately realize that he has no clue. He doesn't know when he met Lydia, and he probably only hangs out with her occasionally, how many times in the week do you meet her? He says, occasionally. We have his phone records. He actually hardly talks with Lydia. He's probably a hustler or something. It is more likely that because he talked about drugs when we came in to his home, that he probably has associated himself with Lydia through drugs. It is very likely. I decide that Tom Weil is too shaky right now. It is smarter to let him wait, to let him leave, to make him feel comfortable, to make him feel sure about himself. I assume that the murder of Ally and that we investigate into it and that he is one of the main suspects has made a deep impression on him. I want to find out what his reaction is. I'm not quite sure whether he is or whether he could be a murderer or not. He could be. Especially when he thinks that he deserved Ally more than anyone. But I want to talk to Lydia. So we bring in Lydia. She's surprisingly willing to come with us. Let herself be interrogated. Normally I would assume that someone would want or would pose a lot of questions. Why me? Why do you have to talk to me? But she was willing to talk about it, and she is very uncomfortable. She probably heard that Tom was taken into custody and interrogated by the police and by me. I ask Lydia, when did she meet Tom Weil? She tells me that she met Tom when she was in school. A friend of hers recommended him. And I asked him why did she recommend him? Well, she's uncomfortable. It is what I assumed. Tom probably sold drugs in school. It is okay, I tell her. You were a minor, and the statute of limitation applies on that case. Well, I lie. I don't know what she did so far. And she tells me that he sold her drugs in school. Why? I ask her. It's a very stupid question, but it is outright. She probably asked herself the same question. Why do I need drugs? And she's again uncomfortable. She doesn't know how to explain things, doesn't know how to explain diabetes. This is what this whole thing revolves around. Well, it was like candy. He told me it is like candy. Because you have diabetes. I look at her. I try not to look severe. It is. I don't want to accuse her because diabetes is nothing you are responsible for, especially not if you have type 1 diabetes. This is not your fault. You are born with them, and no one has the right whatsoever to accuse you of any wrongdoing. I tell her I know. Assumably she thinks that we in the police have gotten medical records. There are some special circumstances where you can get insulin through your health insurance, because normally you have to pay for insulin, especially if you're an adult. If you're a child, in some countries in the world, for children, you get insulin through your health insurance for free in some countries. In others, diabetics have to pay for their own insulin. In the US, if you're an adult, you have to pay for insulin yourself. Of course, it depends on the health insurance you have. But mostly, if you're an adult in the US, you have to pay for your insulin yourself when you go to the pharmacy. And these things, especially if you are diabetic, is written in your medical records. So I admit, or I say to Lydia, that we know that she has diabetes. Many diabetics think that it is not perceivable, that one would not be able to recognize someone who has diabetes, because a lot of people who have diabetes put a lot of effort in hiding actually that they would have diabetes. And I immediately perceived that Lydia feels uncomfortable. I want to hit the iron. I want to strike the iron while it is hot. We have found a profile, as a social media profile of you, using Ally Fauna's name as well as her phone number. And Lydia is struck. This is some serious offense. Yes, this is identity fraud, even though it is Facebook and there is no real harm done as long as it is on Facebook. If she used Ally's name and Alice for something else outside of Facebook, then she would be in trouble. But there are a lot of fake IDs on Facebook, and Facebook is one of the platforms where identity fraud is very common. But if someone uses a name of someone else on Facebook, he could say that this is just a nickname or whatever. So you can get a lot of excuses. As long as it is not verified, you can pretty much claim every name you want. And Ally is a very common name, English name. It is a nickname. You could say Alice, Beth, whatever you have. But I see that Lydia is very uncomfortable. And I see that she has tears in her eyes. Do you have diabetes? She asks me. Are you ill? I say no, I don't have diabetes. Do you know what it is like to see others live, to enjoy their lives, and I cannot take part in it? Whenever I see them, They can do whatever they want. They are like half goddesses. They are above us. I didn't kill Ally Fauna. I just wanted to have this feeling, this rush, this pleasure, just to imagine how my life would be if I would be healthy, if I could do whatever I want and not hampered by this disease. The first memory I have about candy is when I secretly ate a lot of them and I felt dizzy. And my mom rushed to me, and she had to shoot up insulin so in order to save my life. This is the relationship I have to sweet pain. And it is unbearable to see people who are not hampered with that, who have not think about it, who do not walk past fruits, past candy without thinking about how much should I eat, how much could kill me, or whether they ask themselves, is it all worth, is this life I live worth anything? I could not bear this thought. I cannot live like this. And then you always have to pretend that you are healthy, that you would not be sick, because it is a disease everyone feels ashamed of. Even your friends whom you know who have diabetes, even they don't want to talk about it. It is a taboo. You have no one to talk about it. But your imaginations that you would be healthy, that you could imagine, that you can imagine a life, another you, which is far away, detached from your current circumstances. And you think that this disease has led to all your life choices which brought you here in this very moment, in this very place. And you imagine how your life would have turned out if you did not have this disease, if you haven't been born with it. Of course you imagine how your life would have been, what person you would have been if you would have been born healthy and not strained. I feel like my life was strained. I was bound and tied in a very early age, and my mind has been locked up in a cage, thinking about the same thing over and over again. I'm thoughtful. This is a very honest statement of someone. And Lydia burst into tears. I do not think you are capable of killing Ally Fauna. She admired her. She thought of Ally as if she would be half goddess, a healthy half goddess. She liked to emulate. That's the reason why she had this Facebook account. It was a birthday gift. Ally's phone number was a birthday gift from Tom to Lydia.